This is a project that has been floating around for some time, but now we get confirmation via Deadline that the proposed Willy Wonka origin movie set to showcase the early years of the candy maker before he becomes the world famous inventor and chocolatier, as showcased in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory books by Roald Dahl and the subsequent films released over the years. The movie titled Wonka will see Academy Award nominee Timothée Chalamet play a young Willy Wonka. This will mark the third time that an actor has brought the character to life on the big screen. Previously, we've had the late Gene Wilder in the role in the original 1971 movie titled Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and then in 2005's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp's take on the character. Both versions adapted the first book by British author Roald Dahl and followed the story faithfully for the most part, with some changes to better tell their version of the story. Following the tradition of the previous films, the upcoming prequel will also be a musical, something which is new territory for Chalamet as an actor. This will be the first time that he will have to sing and dance for a film, so that should be an interesting challenge for the actor to overcome for this role. There's no doubt he cannot master the art of singing and dancing, given enough time and plenty of training with expert singers, choreographers, and musicians. This is an actor that is constantly rising to the challenge with every new role he takes on. This is why he's currently one of the best actors in the industry. By the time he's done prep for filming, Chalamet will give us his show-stopping performance as Wonka. It's interesting that the actor is taking on a more flashy role than anything he's done before. Usually he's attached to smaller films in parts that are not necessarily this mainstream. I guess with his upcoming role in Denis Villeneuve's Dune, he's making strides into other areas to further his career in the industry. But it must speak to the strength of the script presented to the actor. The Little Women star isn't an actor who just takes on any project. He's very selective in the roles he's taken up to this point. The upcoming prequel is being helmed by Paul King, who directed Paddington, and its sequel, Paddington 2. Both films are easily some of the most charming and heartwarming films to be released in recent years. Having the director on board this project makes me confident that we'll get a solid film that lives up to the legacy of the previous Wonka movies, especially the Gene Wilder version, which for me has set the bar that future Wonka-based films, including his prequel, has to try and match. King's work on Paddington shows a tremendous amount of talent in his storytelling ability, as well as his ability to weave humor into the narrative. He is certain to create a film that has a good balance between drama and humor to lighten up the story. Unless this is surprisingly the film where the director decides to go much darker than anything he's done before now, which I doubt. A movie about Willy Wonka doesn't need to be dark, it should be whimsical. The British director will be scripting the film alongside Simon Farnaby, who collaborated with King on Paddington 2. Farnaby is mostly known for being a long-time cast member on the British children's show Horrible Histories and has appeared in the aforementioned Paddington films as Barry. Most recently, the comedian wrote and starred in Mindhorn, a small independent film, which I really enjoyed. Because of his experience singing and dancing on Horrible Histories, I think he'll bring what he learned from working on the show onto this project. The fact that King is reteaming with the talent shows that they have a good working relationship, and I'm sure whatever they've managed to write for the screenplay will be a solid blueprint for the movie to come together. It's interesting that this film is centered around a young Willy Wonka. That is something that the Johnny Depp version of the story touched on in some flashbacks. They made Wonka the son of a dentist who had a strict no candy policy. Despite that, Wonka had a fascination for candy before even tasting it, and once he tried his first piece of candy, he was blown away by the variety and flavors. Dr. Wilbur, played by the late great Christopher Lee, was against his son having any type of candy, since it would ruin his teeth, and was less than happy when Wonka decided he wanted to be a chocolatier. This prompted a young Wonka to run away from home, and the rest was history. I like the backstory they gave to the character, but I imagine this prequel will do something much different than the story explored in the Tim Burton film. I know some people will be put off by the idea that they are making an origin story for the character because they believe he was already fine without one. And yes, they do have a point. Wonka is a great character despite the little we know about his life prior to the events that take place in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But at the same time, it leaves a lot of room open to conceive an interesting backstory that sheds light on that unknown period in the character's life. Wonka is such a fascinating person, and looking back at his early life could make for a great story, or a terrible one. But I have nothing but faith that the creative team assembled for this project will do their best to respect the legacy of the character and craft a wonderful story that will be a nice addition to the Wonka canon. Let's not forget that despite being around for 57 years, they have never really done much with the character in terms of adapting his further adventures. There is a sequel titled Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator that has never received the same amount of interest as the original book. They could have easily adapted that for the big screen, but instead, they are doing their own thing, giving themselves a challenge rather than taking the easy route, and that has my interest. The other option could have simply been to do a reboot and give us a third adaptation of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I'm glad they didn't attempt. The two we have is enough, at least for the time being. You never know with Hollywood. For me, a prequel is the more favorable option. I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. I really think this could be a good story to tell, so let's just hope everything comes together smoothly. So, are you excited to see this prequel? Or do you think they should forget about it and move on to something else? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways folks, that's all for now. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed the show. Please feel free to subscribe, like, and comment below. And hey, maybe this wasn't your cup of tea. And that's okay. Just remember to take care and stay safe.